Well, hey there. Welcome, everyone, to yet another stellar fall publishing webinar, the first of 2017, in fact, this time on the timely topic, hot retail trends and tools for capitalizing on them. Now, I'm Chris Beytes, editor of GrowerTalks and Green Profit magazines and e-newsletter Acres Online, and I will not be your host today. No, instead, since this is primarily a retail-focused webinar, although there's plenty for you growers as well, we've got one of Ball Publishing's expert retail editors to handle the host duties. She is Jen Polanz, managing editor of Green Profit. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you, Chris. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Now that we've got things rolling.
We got it. We're on it.
We got it. Now, not that you aren't my very first choice, but really the other choice was Ellen Wells was going to be doing this duty. But what happened? She's in jail or something? What'd you tell me?
No, Chris, she's not in jail. She is doing her civic duty today by reporting for jury duty. But we just got word, breaking news, that she got released. So she's eating lunch and on her way home.
All right. Well, I tell you what, I'm going to turn it over to you to continue the webinar, but I will be here backstage pushing the buttons if you need me and answering questions for anybody who's not getting any audio, which I'm seeing just one note right there from somebody.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Chris. So I am coming live to you from my home office in Cleveland, Ohio, where it's a balmy 36 degrees today. And I am going to introduce your expert for today. She is Jessica DeGraaf, who is the retail account manager for Proven Winners. Jessica has cultivated all the information that she's about to share with us from all of her online research, the Proven Winners social media presence, and her experiences just visiting retailers all over the country. So Jessica, welcome. How are you doing today, and where are you presenting from?
Hello, Jessica.
Jessica, can you hear us? Oh, we might have some audio difficulty this afternoon with Jessica. We're going to try and figure that out and see what's going on there.
I see her talking, but she's not muted. Jessica, hello. All right, let's see what we can get going on. Well, that's why I'm here in the background, supposedly pushing some buttons.
Yeah, push those buttons, Chris. Get on there.
Jessica, check the mute on your end there. And you're not muted on our end. Funny, I have to send one of those emails saying, no sound.
Oh, no. Yeah, we've got our host too.
All right, hang on.
We got to work on the audio.
Oh, wait. Let's see. No. Not yet.
Well, Chris, while you're working on that, do you want me to go through the housekeeping items?
Why don't you go ahead and do that, then we'll come back to the introduction.
Okay, ironically, we're going to start with the audio first. So if this slide is for anyone who's having trouble hearing the audio, we always put this slide up for a few seconds. Obviously, they can't hear us, but they can read the audio and then try and fix it that way. So we're going to keep this up for a few seconds, and if anybody has any issues there, if you're still having trouble, use the chat function at the bottom right corner to let us know, and we'll try and help you out. If you don't see the chat function there, go up to the right top where it says chat and click on that.
All right. And what we're going to do here, Jen, we're going to, we've had to do this before. When you get internet connections, things go wanky. Well, I asked Jessica, excuse me, to sign out and back in. And in fact, she said she's already tried that. Let's see what else we can do on our end. She said she's out. So we'll let her sign back in and see what happens.
Okay.
And of course, every rehearsal we run works out beautifully.
Of course.
We'll go on to the next one here.
Okay, so if you have questions now or toward the end, type them in that chat box, and Chris will let us know if there's something that's pertinent to the topic that we're talking about right now, then we'll answer that question, or if it's better saved for the end, he'll come back on. Oh, we got you.
Oh, thank you. All right. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know what happened.
No
We
problem.
prepare for every contingency. In fact,
Oh my gosh.
I was going to give your talk.
Chris, I've about had a heart attack, so we better prepare for that too. So.
All right. Well, I'm going to back the slide up, and Jen, go ahead and introduce Jessica.
Okay, well, I kind of already did, but I'll do it again. Jessica has cultivated all the information she's about to give us from her online research, social media presence, and all the experiences visiting retailers from all over the country. So, Jessica, tell us a little bit about where you're presenting from today.
I'm actually sitting in the trade show of the MANTS show here in Baltimore, Maryland, so it's not much warmer than what you've got in Cleveland, but thank you guys so much for being patient with me here.
Oh, no problem. And we're so happy that you could join us and share your expertise with us today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Sure. So we've gone through the audio, we've gone through the chat function, and the last thing we're going to tell you before we get started is if you have any technical difficulties out there, if you have to go somewhere, you just can't finish the webinar, it will be archived on the Ball Publishing website where you registered initially, ballpublishing.com webinars. So you can access that about a half an hour after the webinar ends and view it at your leisure. So now I know Jessica's got a lot of ground to cover, so without further delay, the webinar is yours, Jessica.
Great, thank you. Well, this is one of my favorite slides that I use in a lot of my presentations, and I often start with this one, and the reason I do that is because I just love the visual of this slide, because we know that really the only constant in life is change. And in the landscape in which we operate, both literally and figuratively, we have to continue to focus on what's next. And I think that trends really have one purpose for us, and that's simply to stay ahead of our customers' expectations. So at Proven Winners, we have a team that is constantly observing and responding to trends, and we're going to talk about those today and some of the programs and tools that you guys can take advantage of. So in the past year, the slide that you see right now is our Retail Advisory Board, and we created this group of 9 independent garden centers from across the U.S. and Canada, really with the thought process with that this group, in addition to the hundreds of other garden centers like yourself that we work with each and every day, would help us to spot trends, but also to develop and craft programs that the garden centers can capitalize on. This group, along with yourselves, has been extremely integral in the formation of a number of the programs that we're going to talk about today. And we'd love to hear from you. So if you have thoughts or ideas after the webinar, please feel free to contact me or any of the Proven Winners team members. But let's get talking about trends. So we're going to move on to the next slide and look at a couple different trends. First, in the realm of fashion design, both interior and exterior, and then we're going to talk as well about consumer trends. So let's dig right into the world of fashion and design. And I think a really logical place for us to start is actually with Pinterest. Every single month on Pinterest, over 150 million people from all over the globe are looking for ideas, for information, and so much more. And Pinterest is tracking every single search and save that people are doing on that platform. And what that does is that allows them to provide us, retailers, a snapshot of not only the emerging trends, but also broader shifts in interest and behavior. And so this screenshot is actually taken from a group at Pinterest, and that group is called Pinsights. And so what they do is they look at activity from January through November of every year. And what they do is they identify top trends in key categories that either show considerable growth year over year, or they have more than 500,000 saves on a topic. So the latest Pinterest 100 report was just published. If anybody's interested, I'd be happy to share that information with you guys after the webinar. And what that does is it highlights the top 100 trends that span style and home, travel, food, hobbies, and just a whole range of other topics as well. So let's talk about the Pantone color of the year. So we're going to move on to the next slide. So Pantone announced their color of the year about a month ago, and I know you guys have seen that all over in various newsletters. And first and foremost, I just want to say hallelujah, because it's a great color. The color is called greenery, and greenery, according to Pantone, is really supposed to symbolize the reconnection with nature, one another, and a larger purpose. And I think often with Pantone, we sometimes struggle with really how to implement and use that color at retail. Sometimes it's not a popular flower color or a hue, and so that's why I'm so excited about spring 2017, because this is really a public service announcement for plants and for gardens, and we get to reap the benefits of that. I think it provides huge opportunities, not only in houseplants, but think about things like ferns and eucalyptus and other green flowering plants. You know, some of my favorites are limelight or little lime hydrangea, for example. So let's go on to the next slide and talk about how do we incorporate that. I think we have to talk about it at retail. We have to implement and use that color in our displays, but I think we can also talk about it on our social platforms. And this is just a nice screen capture of the Proven Winners Pinterest page. And we have a pin board just focusing on plants that we really feel like hit that greenery topic, plants that really are easy picks to promote reviving or restoring or renewing ourselves in the garden. And so there's just simple and easy ways for you to either share this board or create your own board, or even post things on Facebook or Instagram for that matter, really highlighting that greenery trend. But greenery isn't the only color that we need to really look at. I think we need to look at other shades of green and also corresponding colors when we're putting together our displays. And so I think a really good place to start is the Spring 2017 Fashion Color Report. So this is also put out by Pantone, and as you'll see, greenery is one of those 10 colors. But the thing that I like about this is it was created in conjunction with the New York Fashion Week. So you know that all of the colors that you're seeing in this palette are those that are going to be featured not only in fashion, but also in home and decor and other industries as well. And the thing that I really like about these, if you read the names, the thing that I like is we've got things like Primrose Yellow and Island Paradise, Kale, Pale Dogwood. They're all names that are plants or items that we actually carry in the garden center. And so I think we need to focus on not only greenery, but these other colors when we're looking at ordering any of our outdoor cushions, pottery, even when we're incorporating our POP materials. So the screenshot here are just a few grabs that I took from Pinterest. I spend a lot of time on Pinterest, as do a number of our team members. And these are a few of my favorite finds because the botanical trend in all things green is obviously going to be huge in 2017. And I think we can really capitalize on this trend by creating displays and capturing elements in our store that really play into this theme. And let me tell you something, even if we don't like it, macrame and granny florals are back, and people love them. And so I think it's a great opportunity for us to incorporate statement pieces into our displays and to use these colors to really show people how to take not only plants, but also a lot of the other lines that we're selling home and incorporate them into their own homes. So we're going to go back to that Pinterest 100 list that I had mentioned to you before. And home is actually the third largest category on Pinterest with over 8 billion ideas. I mean, that's crazy. But one of the things that I think is really exciting about that is that plants and how people use them are consistently actually falling into this category. So it's not just a hobby, it's also falling under home. And so I think that a lot of us would agree that succulents and miniature gardens have really allowed us to reach a totally different segment of the market. And I think that trend really was fueled largely in part to the ideas and the projects on Pinterest. And then over the last couple of years, I think we've also seen a major influx in information on houseplants. So think about the fiddle leaf fig or staghorn fern or orchids, for example. So based on what Pinterest is telling us, if you look at the bottom left-hand corner of the slide here, you'll see that there's more than a 200% increase in the number of people looking at indoor climbing vines. And I think that's going to be the next large trend in indoor plant material. So think about plants like pothos or ivy or philodendron. And I think when you pair that with a macrame container or something else, it'll be very, very popular. So rather than go through all of those Pinterest 100 lists, because there's a ton of information there, what we really did is we went through and we dug and found, I think, the 5 best picks from that list that would resonate with our customers. They're easy to apply in your merchandising and your displays. And first and foremost, we're going to talk about farmhouse style. I think probably every single person on the webinar today know Chip and Joanna Gaines, or you've heard about them. They've put shiplap on the map. There's a number of things that I think none of us would have thought to do before Fixer Upper. And so they're doing just a ton of displays and ideas with mixed materials, natural fabrics. You know, and salvage and vintage is now cool because of them, and I think that's a great opportunity. kind of playing off of that as well is the theme of reclaimed wood. So pallets and barnwood have obviously been popular for the last 2 to 3 years, and they're going to continue to be that. You're also looking at and seeing a lot of work with distressed woods and things of that nature. We talked a little bit about indoor vines in the last slide, so I'll skip over that, and we'll move on to copper accents. So 3 or 4 years ago, silver was the hot color, and all of our metal was pretty much primarily it was silver, and then that moved to more of a rose gold tone. And what we're really seeing this year is now it's moving from rose gold into copper. So when you look at containers, when you see fixtures, when you see a lot of other stuff at retail, you're going to see a lot of copper, and I think that's something that we need to incorporate in what we offer our customers. And last but not least is what they call Danish hygge. And I almost left this one off the list simply because I could not for the life of me figure out how to pronounce it. I actually, for those of you that wonder, I went on YouTube and had to figure out the proper pronunciation and practice that several times to be comfortable enough to say that. I do hope that there's nobody from Denmark on this call, because if there is, I've probably mangled it. But really what hygge is, there's really not an English word to describe that, but what it really is a concept of enjoying everyday life. So taking ordinary tasks and making them fun, enjoying time with your friends and family. And so I think the best way to picture hygge would be to think about a cozy fireplace, a nice warm blanket, and a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, and just sitting and enjoying yourself. And so I think we can create displays at the Garden Center to show our customers how do they create those nooks or those areas of their home where they can just sit and relax and enjoy. So now we're going to move on to outdoor trends, and let's talk about outdoor spaces and furniture. And I think we can all agree that outdoor areas have really evolved massively over the last few years, and I don't think that trend is going to slow down anytime in the future. And I think what really was once a really simple space has really progressed into something that is an additional area for living or entertaining. It's really an essential room that blurs or blends the lines between the inside of the house and the outside of the house. So what we've done is we've pulled together some trends from a couple websites. The first is called Homely, and this is actually a site from Australia. And the thing I love about looking at some of these Australian sites is that they tend to be about a year ahead of us in the States in terms of picking trends. So the photo that you see there is actually from their website. And then we also look at Furniture Today, looking at trends for 2017. And so the first one that we're going to look at is what we like to call eclectic and organic. So we're going to flip. There we go. So this is a great example of really blurring the lines, and I know this isn't an outdoor photo, but what you can see is really this is a room with a sliding door headed out to the patio. And according to Homely, I think what you're going to start to see is a movement away from very clean or minimalistic lines, Scandinavian furniture, to more of an eclectic, organic, and textural style. And so you can see that here. Obviously, a lot of incorporation of green. You're seeing copper accents, lots of houseplants. And so it's just a great way to incorporate natural fibers and really that green color into your displays. The next trend that we're really seeing is what we call eco-friendly and native gardens, or naturescaping. And if you talk to any landscaper, that seems to be one of the largest growing categories right now for them. And really what this does is this allows them to create landscapes that are really easy to maintain. And we have a lot of customers that obviously don't have a lot of time. And so what they're using are very low maintenance perennial or shrub varieties or native plants. But they're also installing very LED lighting. They're installing a lot of things, natural decking materials and things of that nature that have very little maintenance. And so it gives the consumer the ability to have a green landscape. And I think a few other things that fit into that would certainly be edibles or container gardening, and also pollinator gardens. So let's talk a little bit about the actual furniture itself. And I think the biggest trend that we're seeing is mix and match. So matching sets used to be the rage. So when you looked at Pottery Barn, when you looked at Ethan Allen or any of the other home catalogs, everything was a nice cohesive look, everything matched. And what we're seeing is that matching sets are really out, and being eclectic is really the new in. And I think when you look at this photo, the interesting thing here is you're seeing a lot of upcycled materials or one-of-a-kind furniture. So people are using recycled pallets to create sort of the base for this, and then they're purchasing really brightly colored cushions and fabrics to really express themselves. And one of the things that I found the most interesting when I was reading this article from Homely was simply the fact that they said millennials are less motivated by perfection, and they want fresh looks that really reflect their individuality. So we've got to be able to provide that for them. So our team works really hard to compile all of the trends that we find, feedback and comments that we receive from consumers on our website. And then what we do is we take this information and it really becomes the framework for the Gardener's Idea Book. And you're seeing a screenshot of the cover of the Gardener's Idea Book for spring 2017. Each and every spring we mail out about 700,000 copies of these across the US and Canada to consumers by request only. And this piece is really, I think, just chock full of information, ideas, photos, container ideas, really to give our customers innovative ways to not only create their own spaces, but to utilize plants. And what they do is they use this as almost a way for them to pick their plants they're going to come and purchase from you in the spring. I think it's probably the #1 resource that we offer garden centers, and I want to talk a little bit about how you guys can take advantage of that. So you might ask how a consumer actually requests a copy or receives a copy of the Idea Book. There's actually 2 different ways that they can receive a copy. The first way is simply to log on to our website, and they can ask for a copy, and we'll mail that to them. And how they do that, how they know to do that, is simply through our consumer ad campaign. So we have a national ad campaign with a number of large gardening magazines across the country, and the call to action on all of those ads is simply to request a copy of that Idea Book. We're going to flip down, and I want to talk about one of those publications that is really, really unique and we're very excited about is the Magnolia Journal. So we talked a little bit about Chip and Joanna Gaines, and we talked about the fact that they have really revolutionized kind of the DIY and the home decor industry. And so in October of this year, they actually launched their own magazine. And so we were able to place ads in the magazine, and the reason that we did that is we're really trying to reach a different consumer, a different demographic. We're focusing on those folks that are really interested in inspiration for the life and for the home. So this is the ad, the annual ad that will be running in that magazine. The thing that I wanted to point out about this is we've really kind of changed the overall look and feel of our ads this year, really focusing more on the lifestyle approach. And the thought behind that is, and the goal really is to allow the customer or the consumer to really visualize themselves in the space. You know, those could be your kids or your grandkids, that could be your dog, or even your front door. And so we're working to create an image that lets our customers know that it's not simply about the plants. It's actually about the relationships and creating memories with our products, which is why we use that tagline, Grow Memories. The feature of the ad is going to be our...
I just want to jump in here for a second.
Yeah.
And that lifestyle technique is really something great that garden centers can incorporate into their displays and their marketing as well. Like getting more of those kids and the dog and all those cute but really memorable type imagery.
Absolutely. You know, that's one of the things that we worked really hard to do. We actually have point-of-purchase materials with this exact photo and other photos that show that lifestyle approach. And I think the more that you can create those vignettes and show people ideas and incorporate pets or children or other, you know, people into those displays with signage, it's fantastic because it just creates, I think, a relationship, and people really can relate to that.
Yes, totally.
So the other way that your customers can get a copy of the Idea Book is actually a co-op program that we do with garden centers like yourselves. So what we offer is a customized mailing, basically, that you could send to your customers. And so you can mail them a copy of the Idea Book for as little as 65 cents. So Proven Winners pays for the booklet itself, and we ask the garden center to pay for the postage on that. In Canada, that's $1.75 per piece, but this is a 36-page document that has just tons of inspiration. If you look at the center of the slide, you'll see this Customize Your Message box, and there what you're seeing is the back cover of that Idea Book. What we'll actually allow a garden center to do is provide their logo. So we would replace the Proven Winners logo with their logo. And we also allow them to have a little message that would say, for example, compliments of Smith Garden Center or something along those lines. So you can mail them to your customers very inexpensively. All we ask is that you provide us a list of 250 names and addresses. We mail those on the date that you specify in the spring. And trust me, your customers will use those as an order starter when they walk into the garden center. One other thing to mention is we have a lot of garden centers that mail these, and then also order additional boxes of them, and they use them as a handout for the various programs that they're doing, whether those are seminars or open houses or things of that nature. We also have a site, in addition to the Proven Winners website, that's called Proven Beauty, and I don't know if many of you are familiar with this. The URL for that site is just simply beauty.provenwinners.com, and I think this is just a fantastic microsite that we offer in addition to the Proven Winners website. It's a consumer site really created to give a lot of information, to provide a lot of inspiration to customers and show them our new products. So we'll flip to the next slide. This is a website that we never promoted outside of the Gardener's Idea Book. So the only way that our customers really knew about this site was if they wanted more information and they were flipping through our idea book. The call to action was to go to Proven Beauty to find more information. And so this is just a quick snapshot this past spring from April 1st until the end of May, and it just shows you we had 100,000 visits to the Proven Beauty site. But the thing that I found most exciting was simply the fact that 81% of those folks were new users. So they'd never been to the Proven Winners website before. So we're getting a different demographic, and this is just a great site for you to share not only with yourselves, but with your customers. Here's a screen capture of the Proven Beauty website, but the one thing that I wanted to point out here is there is a tab on Proven Beauty called the Gardener's Idea Book. So what this really does is this takes every single spread of the idea book, so that printed booklet that your customers receive, and it brings that to life. So there could be a different DIY project, perhaps a Pinterest board associated with that. We have interactive, the ability for a customer, for example, to take a container and move different combinations in and out of that and see what that looks like. Just tons and tons of information, and the ability for your customers to really touch almost and feel the products before they ever walk into the store. Here's just a quick overview. This past year we did a rustic theme, and one of the things that we did was a tiered candlestick planter, basically. And so on the website, this is just one of the spreads. It shows the story of where we actually found the planter, what we were trying to do for the actual photo shoot, and then the next page actually shows the consumer, the materials that they would need to recreate that, and the tools, and then just some tips. So these are great ideas for you to use for potentially workshops at the garden center if there's interest in doing something like that. So we talked a lot about design and fashion trends, and now I want to talk a little bit more about consumer trends. One of the companies that we watch very closely is a company called Trend Watching. And that company was established in 2002, and the thing that we really like about them is they use more than 3,000 trend spotters in more than 180 countries. And one of the things that they had mentioned in their latest report is that we need to stop watching customers and start watching innovations. So the products, the services, and the campaigns that are literally flooding the market. And one of the things that they said is that digital experiences are quickly going to carry the same amount of weight, if not more weight, in the coming years than actual experience. So when you think about how quickly that digital world is changing, we really need to be aware of what's going on. The photo that you see on the screen here is obviously a shot of Google Now and Alexa, and we know that there's been a huge increase in automatic assistance. So think of things like Siri or Cortana. But the adoption of those services is skyrocketing right now. I actually just read a report that said that even refrigerators are using Alexa or Amazon Now as sort of their automatic assistant. So you can talk to your refrigerator, and that can provide information back to you via the Alexa system. So we have to look at how is technology going to impact our industry, and we're going to talk about a few of those things. The first one is I think that consumers want both information and experience, because there's really a fundamental shift occurring in purchasing behavior. I think consumers are still extremely hungry for information, and they'll still spend hours researching products online before they ever walk through our doors. But many of them still want to come into the store and speak to your employee or to yourself to validate their decisions. And so no longer are they simply just looking for that information, they also want an experience. And so I have a screen capture here of a company called Perch. And what Perch is like a kitchen, bath, / outdoor company. But what they've done is they've really completely revolutionized the market, and they provide the ultimate pairing, in my mind, of experience and information for the customer. So we'll flip to the next slide here. The website is perch.com. I was going to share a video with you guys, and we didn't. It wasn't working very well with the webinar, so we'll provide the link to the video afterwards. But one of the things that I wanted to point out about Perch is simply the fact that everything is experiential. So when you walk into their stores, they do have, obviously, the kitchen stove there. They have all of the faucets. They have showers. They have a grill there. But the fun part about Perch is you can actually turn on all of those faucets. You can schedule an appointment to actually use the steam shower before you actually buy that. And so they've taken the traditional retail experience where it's not fun, where you can't really touch or feel that product, and you can actually play and use that in the store before you ever purchase it. So the things that I think we can learn from the Perch model, and when you watch the video, I think this will make a lot more sense, but there's 4 key things that I really wanted to talk about. I think the first thing is simply the fact that the retail experience is really changing. I think it's changing very, very rapidly, and I think it will continue to change at a very rapid clip. And we have to create experiences and meaningful transactions. You know, Amazon has thousands and thousands of transactions every day, and they're very good at that, but they're not at all good at creating an experience. And I think that's where we as retailers, as brick and mortar stores, really have an opportunity to not only provide information, but to create an experience when those folks are at our stores. Another big thing is people love stories. They relate to stories. And so they want to know stories not only about our plants and our products, but also about you. And we've got to make sure that we're telling them those stories because they want to have a connection with us. And lastly, I think we have to define why we exist versus what we do. Simply, there's a lot of folks out there that are very interested in our products. And if we can get other people interested in what we do, I think it's just a great opportunity. So let's talk a little bit about information. So we do a certification program every year at Proven Winners, and we've done this for a number of years. And really the premise of our certification program is simply to provide you and your employees with knowledge about our products. So that way when customers are coming to your store, you are the expert. And so the certification program is an hour-long program that we offer every year that will be available this year starting February 1st. And what we do is we focus on all of the questions that we receive from consumers on our website. We get more than 30,000 questions every year. We find the topics that are most relevant to consumers, the questions that they're asking us the most. And then what we do is we create our content based on that. A lot of that is focused on new varieties, but we also feature a lot of our existing varieties. So at the end of that hour session, your staff is armed with the tools to really go out and be able to promote and sell Proven Winners products. But it's more than just the knowledge. There is a number of other benefits really of doing the certification. Another great benefit is visibility on our website. We have millions of people that do come to our website every year. And one of the first questions that they ask is, where do I find a local retailer? So if you've completed certification at your store, basically your garden center would pop up as the closest garden center to them that is certified. So that's a great option. There's a lot of wonderful resources, including a photo library, social media graphics. Actually, this year, one of the things that we received feedback from garden centers on is that they wanted more training videos, 2 to 5 minute videos that they could use with their staff, maybe at a weekly meeting about key topics that customers are asking you. So for those garden centers that certify, that will be an option as well. We have rewards, and then last but not least, we have pizza, and who doesn't like free pizza? So for every employee that completes the certification program, Proven Winners will actually pay for a pizza party. So the next slide, we had a number of garden centers. We actually had dozens and dozens of them that actually sent photos to us of their staff in their t-shirts or just enjoying their pizza saying thank you. And we just wanted to thank all of you that have completed certification that are on the line. For those of you that have not, I would really recommend this is a great time to not only learn about our products, but just have some concentrated time with your staff, and it's always fun to eat pizza, right? So the next big trend that we're going to talk about is personalization and service. I think if you look at the market that we're in right now, we as consumers require and we expect a very, very high level of service, but we want that personalized to us. And so I think we need to look at a number of companies out there that are really doing that. I don't know if any of you are familiar with an organization called Thumbtack, but I would really recommend, and we'll send you guys the link for their website as well. But this is like Angie's List on steroids, I would say. You can actually go on, you provide your zip code, and you can ask for a professional to do almost any task you can imagine. Over the holidays, they have people that will put up your lights and take them down. They have people that would install, for example, your television for you. This is actually a screenshot from their website, that just says hire a plant caretaker. So you can actually hire somebody to come in and take care of your houseplants or your containers. And so this is a great way for you, I believe, to connect with your customers. A lot of the younger demographic aren't really looking for, or aren't coming to websites, our websites, or contacting us about this. They're going to sites like Thumbtack. So this is a great way for you to be seen in a totally different market. The other thing that we heard from garden centers, and we actually implemented this year, is a social media sharing site. We have a lot of garden centers. We know it gets busy in spring, and it's really hard to schedule social media content or to create that content, or even to just keep that going every single week. And so one of the things that we did is we created a free sharing site that we allow all of our customers to access. And that site is provenwinners.com/share. And what we've done is we've taken all of our most popular social media graphics and we've put them on a Google Drive. So it's in the cloud. You can access it at any time of the day. It's very, very simple and easy to access and download. And the thing that we've done here is we have graphics for all the different platforms. So for Facebook, for Instagram, Pinterest, and Twitter. So they're sized appropriately. And then basically they're categorized by landscape plants, plants for containers. There's just a wide range of different topics here. And so if you go on that website and you find that, hey, there's something that I'd like to feature that I don't see here, contact me, send me an email. Our team would be more than happy to create those graphics for you.
So Jessica, are those, do those have text with them, or are those just the images?
Those are just the images. One of the things that we really would recommend is make sure that you put your own personalized message on those. We found that garden centers that do that have been very, very successful, and I have just tons of examples if you guys would like to see any of those as well.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. You know, another big trend is sort of the DIY versus, the do-it-yourself versus do-it-for-me, and I love this graphic. Because obviously we have a number of our customers that do want to do it themselves. We have a number of our customers that as that core demographic starts to age, they want us to start helping do that for them. But the category that I find the most interesting is this do it with me category. And what that customer really is, I think, is it's a customer that really maybe is not as comfortable with our plants or comfortable with our products, but they want to learn, but they want to do it with us. They don't want us to tell them how to do something and then they have to go home and try to do it themselves and potentially fail. They actually want us to work with them. So we'll go to the next slide here and talk about how we're actually kind of handling that demographic, and that is with a relationship that we have with Garden Answer. About a year ago, Marshall Dirks, who is our marketing director, he talked to his whole staff and he just simply said to everyone, hey, who out there in the industry or who out there on social media is really connecting with a different demographic of gardening consumer? And so one of our freelancers came back and said, hey, you've got to check out this couple. They have a business called Garden Answer, and they're creating DIY gardening videos, and people are just eating it up. And so we logged on, we looked at it, and went, oh my goodness, like this is fantastic. We tried for years to create video content that we felt like was very, very relevant, and we never could get the response that Garden Answer did. So we reached out and contacted them, and they actually agreed to work with Proven Winners all the way through 2019 to create content. But one of the things that we wanted to be sure that they were doing is we wanted them to utilize our plants, but we didn't want this to be really an infomercial for Proven Winners. We just wanted them to show people how to use our plants with other plants as well. So you'll see a lot of content on succulents, you'll see a lot of content on miniature gardens, and obviously a number of our products as well. But we really give Laura free license to create whatever she wants with the plants that we provide. So let's go to the next slide. The thing that has been really amazing about this relationship is just watching how people interact with Laura and Aaron. She's to date, from January 1 of 2016 until to the beginning of this year, she had over 168 million views, which is just absolutely crazy. She has done a fantastic job, but the thing that I wanted to point out, this is actually a graph from Facebook. The light blue represents organic views of the content. So you'll see they have very few. There are a couple little blips where they did pay to boost some of the posts that they had of their videos, but this is all organic. And the thing that I think we need to really realize with Laura is that I think the younger demographic, I think the millennials are looking at Laura and saying, you know, I may not know how to do this myself, and sometimes on Pinterest I find a project, I like it, I try to do it, and I'm now all of a sudden I have this epic Pinterest fail. With Laura, I think what they realize is that she's actually doing it with them, so they can actually do the video. They can do the slow version of the video with Laura. I actually did one of them recently with my daughter, the Kokodama. And while it didn't look as good as Laura's when we were done, we had a ball doing it. And I think she's really hitting that demographic.
You know, Jessica, the other thing, too, is she gets a lot of comments from consumers once she posts a video or once you post a video of hers. There's a lot of comments and questions, and she'll go on and answer them. So there's a lot of good back and forth exchange with her and consumers.
Oh, for sure. Laura she's fantastic with communication. And the other thing that I really wanted to mention to you guys is simply she is hungry to create content that works for garden centers. Laura grew up in a garden center. It's very near and dear to her heart. And so she's always looking for content ideas. So if there's ever something that you say, hey, I've got this great idea, or I would love to see Laura you know, do a video on a specific topic, we would love to hear it. And trust me, she would get that information and she would eat it up. So if you guys have ideas, please do send them on. So another trend we wanted to talk about really is the sustainability and sharing economy. And so I think over the last 5 years, many industries have changed, but I don't think any industry has probably changed outside of the IT industry more than the food industry. So think about all of the terms that we hear all the time now, all those buzzwords, organic, free range, non-GMO, and a lot of other terms that we never would have heard 5 years ago. I think it's great, but I think we have to think about how do we relate that to our industry. And I think the biggest thing we need to remember is that consumers assume and demand that our products and how we produce them are sustainable and eco-friendly. You know, waste used to be something that we threw away, but now when you look at a lot of our customers, they consider waste to be idleness or emptiness. You know, think about all the explosion of all the different companies like Uber and Airbnb and programs that really allow customers to have access to a car or have access to a vacation home without actually having to buy them. And so let's flip to the next slide and talk about a really cool company called Street Bank. So Street Bank is a way for consumers literally to give things away, share things, or share skills with their neighbors. And so this is a company that was founded in the UK in 2010, really as a way for neighbors to sort of share tools and services. And it's really morphing into probably one of the biggest sharing sites in the world. And so, you know, what is one person's junk is always one person's treasure. And so I think we have to think about, you know, how do we create an area where our customers can come and share skills? They can share potentially gardening tools or share tips with other customers at the garden center level. The other thing I think that we need to think about, and the question that we really should be asking ourselves, is simply, what are we doing to remove perceived waste from our business? You know, this pertains to a number of different things, and it's much more than just simply, you know, we have plastic containers and tags and how we recycle them. I think we need to be looking at how do we utilize our staff? What do we do with our greenhouse space in off-peak times of the year? Are there creative ways that we could potentially get customers into our garden center to share space or trade services? One of the things Marshall had mentioned to me, and I thought it was a fantastic idea, is could you take empty greenhouse space? So let's say you have a seasonal garden center and create an indoor community garden, an area where people could share and create you know, create their own garden and share produce. It's just a great way to connect to your customers and get them into the garden center year-round. So there's a ton of great tools that we offer, and we couldn't really talk about a lot of those simply because of the time today. But if you are interested in learning about what we're doing at Proven Winners, the visits that we're going on, the different garden centers that we're seeing, we have a retailing newsletter, and this goes out once a month, with the exception of the spring months where it goes out twice a month. It's a very short newsletter that we put together. If you would like to learn about programs, this is kind of the first place where we introduce those programs. So feel free to contact me, and we'd love to get you added to that newsletter list. Another great thing is we have this huge list of retailer resources. I won't go through all of those, but this will be available to you after the webinar. We have, as I mentioned, a lot of tools that we talked about today, and so many more that we just didn't have time to talk about, and they're all sort of covered on this sheet. So one of the things that I just wanted to say is, you know, we have a wonderful industry. 2017 is so exciting, and I think the future is great for each of us in the garden center industry. I think there's a lot of opportunity for new customers to get people engaged. And so we focus on what's next, but we do that together. And so we just wanted to thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your support of the Proven Winners brand. And if there are any ideas or programs that you would love to talk about, I would love to talk with you, as would all of my colleagues at Proven Winners. So with that, I will say thank you.
Okay, well, thank you, Jessica. That was a lot of great information that we've got there. And we're going to kick it over to Chris to see if there are any questions in the queue, perhaps, that Jessica could answer.
There are not, because either Jessica nailed it or people were just too busy listening, as I was. I almost forgot to unmute myself. So certainly, if you have any quick last-minute questions, go ahead and type them into the chat or the Q&A area. I did see a few people asking, though, Jessica, about resources.
Sure.
Somebody wanted to be able to get your talk from you, and I wasn't sure if you were going to do that or not. I did mention that the webinar will be archived shortly, so they can watch it that way. But if somebody wanted more information, or actually a copy of your PowerPoint, or anything else, how do they get in touch with you?
If they just want to email me, Chris, my email is jessica@provenwinners.com. I'd be happy to share all of that information.
Oh, that's right. We'll show that at the next slide as well. Abby wants to know, can we go back to the slide with the resources? I'll put it back there. Yeah, sure, because you can look at this while we're there. Jennifer wants to know, another Jennifer, what are you guys seeing with the future of succulents?
You know, I think that category is just going to continue to grow. When you look at all of the markets where you have water restrictions, you know, I think it's really important there. But let's face it, succulents are really easy for a lot of consumers to grow. They're very easy for somebody. I call them sort of the gateway drug into plants, right? So they're very easy. They're very popular right now. I think it'll move from succulents into more houseplants. I think you'll start to see sort of a revival in that category as well. But I don't see succulents going anywhere. I think you'll continue to see growth there. I don't know that it will be as much as we've seen over the last maybe 3 to 5 years, but I do think it's going to be a very strong category.
All right. Larry wants to know your thoughts on the green wall or the living wall movement. That's an interesting question.
You know, I think it's awesome. I think we're trying to figure out ways, you know, when we live in cities, or when we look at our world, everything it's so fast. And so we're always trying to come up with different ways to sort of slow things down. And I think those green walls really help us to feel more connected, you know, to nature and connected to plants. And so I think it's a great category. I certainly think there's different markets where it's more relevant than others. But, you know, when you go to Chicago, is one of my favorite cities to go and visit simply for that, for not only the green wall category, but also green roofs. And I think both of those will continue to grow.
Yeah, the interesting thing with the green walls is that it runs the gamut from commercial systems with all sorts of fancy irrigation, very expensive, down to just a picture frame with a couple of 4-inch pots wedged up in it, and they all fit the same category.
Exactly, and you can even, you know, incorporate edibles, and there's just so many fun things that you can do with those as well, not just ornamentals. So. Right.
The questions are rolling in now. Maureen wants to know, are there benefits or opportunities for designers to do she says the 1-hour certification process? Would we gain plant insights from that?
I think so, for sure. And here's the thing. We open that certification program up. If a designer would want to do that, you're more than welcome to join. The other thing that we can do is we have a lot of presentations, whether those are new variety presentations or just plant-specific presentations that we can provide. So if she wants to email me afterwards, I'd be happy to give her additional information on that.
All right, we'll share your email again. Matt wants to know if you have a seasonal retail nursery. This is an easy question. No problem. Here, Jessica, if you have a seasonal retail nursery, what are the most desirable plants that people buy on impulse?
Oh man, you served that one up.
Proven winners, aren't you?
I have to say proven winners, Chris. But you know, I think
I queued that one up for you.
You know, we do have a top 50 list, and from that, I would say I could give you a top 10 list very, very easily. A really fun one to start with, though, is Supertunia Vista Bubblegum. That's the #1 petunia that we offer. This year, we actually created what we call a Plant of the Year program. So Vista Bubblegum is sort of the inaugural Plant of the Year. You'll see it featured in all of our ads in our national recipe, and it is bar none, you know, the best plant. It performs in the landscape. It's that plant that gives you 50-mile-an-hour color. So we do have those top 10 or top 50 lists, and I'd be more than happy to share those as well.
All right. How about hanging baskets? What trends do you see there?
You know, we see a lot, obviously proven winners, that's been one of our key categories for years and years, and we have a lot of mixed combination baskets. But one of the interesting things that we're seeing, Chris, is a movement back towards monos, so you're just using one plant in baskets for maximum color impact. That is something that we've seen a lot of lately.
And macrame.
Macrame is back with a vengeance. I'm telling you, if you don't have it, you need to have it. It is the best idea for a workshop that you will ever find. I found a couple of really great how-to videos, so if anybody's interested in macrame, I'd be happy to share that as well. I know when I told my mother that, she was cringing, but hey, it's back and we better capitalize on it.
All right, and Larry actually wants to send you some new products to review, apparently. So you'll get her email address, Larry. You can connect with her that way. And a lot of people want that top 10 list. Lastly, Katie wants to know. Well, actually, let's do 2 last questions here.
Sure.
I'm going to get to Katie's last because I like that one. Amy Jo says, we've seen a decline in print ads through our local newspaper. Well, that's everywhere. Have you seen the same trend across the nation, a decline in print ads?
For sure. I mean, we still do a large consumer ad campaign in the national publications, and we do some work with Proven Winners Color Choice in some of the more regional publications, but a lot of our marketing has moved to the social platforms simply because that's where a lot of our customers are. We still find print to be effective, but we try to diversify that quite a bit. So I think there are other creative ways, especially with the analytics that you now have with Facebook and some of these other platforms, to really see how effective, you know, your marketing is. There's a lot of great opportunity there.
Just
and I can tell you, someone who does
radio. I've been hearing back and forth about radio, and I was kind of curious what you thought.
We moved about 2 years ago to Pandora. So rather than doing terrestrial radio, we moved to online radio via Pandora. And one of the things that we saw in that market, Jen, that we really liked, well, first and foremost, with terrestrial radio, it's always hard to know in a marketplace what station should you be on, what genre. And then when we look at the breakdown, you know, the male to female ratio is always, you know, 48 to 52 or something like that. And it's really difficult to track how successful you are with radio. What we found with Pandora is they serve up ads or content, and you can actually track the click-throughs on that. You can see how long consumers are spending on your site. But the other thing that's fantastic about Pandora is you can be so specific with your demographic. You can talk about specific zip codes. You can talk about, you know, certain income levels of education. It just allows you to better target, I think. And whether it's Pandora or Spotify or one of those other online radio options or alternatives, I think that's the way to go.
Of course, I hate to say I pay for Pandora, so I don't get the ads.
Chris, you're not helping me right now.
I don't pay. I still get the ads.
There you go. Back to the print thing, though. As someone who does print and digital, I can tell you print is not dead. It's obviously if Chip and Joanna now have a print magazine out there, print is still viable. The key is just look around your community to find out what are people reading in print. It might even be the football program at your local, you know, Friday night high school football games. May be the perfect place to advertise.
You know, it's funny, Chris, you mentioned that we have our partner, Proving Winners Color Choice Shrubs. They do a publication in Ontario that's through their local liquor board, and so they do like they have all kinds of content about, you know, DIY projects and things of that nature, and they actually get some of the largest response from that magazine, which has nothing to do with horticulture, but you're hitting a totally different demographic, so you're absolutely right. I think you have to look and see what works in each of your individual markets.
All right. Lastly, I like this question. Katie wants to know any recommendations on how to translate some of these hot trends into more rural markets. And the funny thing, the first thing I'd point out is Waco, Texas is the home of one of the hottest trends out there right now.
You got it. And I think, you know, when you think about, so I grew up, my parents have a tiny garden center in northern Michigan, and it doesn't get much more rural than where they're at. And I think with the trends like farmhouse style and with upcycling and recycling of barnwood, like most of us have all of those props. And so I think the biggest thing is you know, look at your marketplace and look at what people are buying and decorating with. I think you can't be too crazy, so you're not going to want to have an ultra-modern theme. But I do think that you can take a lot of these trends on a smaller scale and incorporate them. So for example, with greenery, you could do a very simple green wall display. You could find a really fun couch and create a lifestyle display around that. I think that the cautionary tale on that is just simply don't get too crazy setting up huge displays. I think I would start very small and see what really resonates with your customers and then build from there.
All right. And we just noticed your phone number is not complete, Jessica.
Oh, yeah.
So give us your phone number out loud here.
Okay, so it's area code 616-706-7970.
7970. I will fire a proofreader, which is me, actually. All right, so, but they can email you or call you 7970. And with that faux pas, Jen, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Okay, so we've got the contact information here. If you guys have any more questions for Jessica, feel free to shoot them on over, call her on the correct phone number. And then, Chris, you want to advance to the next slide, and we'll talk about, once again, this webinar in about a half an hour, will be archived at ballpublishing.com/webinars. So you can take a look at that, where you registered, and you can get those retail resources if you need those, or any of the other slides that you're looking for. You can access those once again. So, Jessica, once again, I'd like to thank you so much for being here today and sharing all this valuable information with us. Those were some great trends that all our retailers can use for the coming year.
Thanks you guys so much for having me, and thank you all for attending. Have a great week.
Thank you. And from